Hello, ghouls and ghoulies. Welcome to Scary and Bizarre Short Stories. I'm your host, Larry Lee Roten. This is a tale that you will not believe. I really don't expect you to believe it, although it is true. I may be the only person who has actually seen this monster clearly and lived to tell the story. It's called Bigfoot. The story I'm about to tell you may seem unreal. You won't believe it, as I'm not sure I do. I witnessed this phenomenon late one evening, watching as a monster slipped into our world. However, my mind refuses to accept what my eyes saw, an unbelievable encounter. I was deer hunting one autumn morning in the mountains of Tennessee. I was hunting deeper in the mountain than usual. I'd found a patch of oak trees and the ground was covered with acorns. The air was crisp and the leaves crunched under my feet as I walked through the woods. I climbed into my hunting stand way before the sun rose, and I planned to stay until dark. As the day passed, a dozen deer passed through under the oaks, each taking the time to eat. However, the buck I was hoping to find had yet to appear. As I waited patiently, I was entertained by a large fox squirrel collecting acorns. He had been busy all day bearing the nuts. I assumed he was preparing for a long, hard winter. The sun was setting, and I realized I had another 2 hours before I'd have to start my trek back toward my truck, which was a good mile from my tree stand. An hour later, terror struck. Out of nowhere, a rift appeared, like a tear in the fabric of reality. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, sending an odd sensation down my back. I sat quietly watching, wondering what was happening. The center of the rift pulsed and grew larger, casting a strange glow all around. I dared not to move as I watched this strange phenomenon unfold. A moment later, a creature emerged from the rift, stepping onto the leaves. They crunched beneath its weight. I realized what this monster was. I'd heard tales before of this mysterious beast. Now, as I sat in my tree stand, I realized the stories were true. Stepping out of the rift was a Bigfoot. It appeared to be 10 feet tall, much larger than a human. The creature was covered with thick, dark brown hair, or maybe fur. It stood on two legs, similar to humans. It must have sensed something wasn't right because it didn't move. It stood scanning the area. It lifted its head and sniffed the air. Its feet were huge and its arms longer than those of a normal man. I watched in terror. Suddenly, it locked its eyes onto mine. His eyes were a deep, disquieting shade of red. The beast stood at the edge of the rift, staring at me with an eerie curiosity. Then it let out a low, resonant sound that seemed to echo throughout the mountains, chilling my bones to the core. I wondered if it was communicating with others of its kind. Then, just as quick as it had appeared, the creature turned back to the rift, disappearing into the light. The rift shimmered for a moment, then vanished, leaving no trace of the event behind. I was alone once more, sitting quietly in my stand. I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. I left the area as quickly as I could. I didn't want to be there when darkness settled. I was truly mortified. I left the woods and never went back. I didn't even go back from my tree stand. I've heard a lot about these creatures, known as Bigfoots or Sasquatches. I never believed they existed until now. No one can produce a clear picture of them or proof that they really do exist. Now, I think I know why. I don't think they live here. I believe they come from another world or universe. I think they are aliens or monsters that live in another dimension. I think they come here to hunt or breed. I believe they are visitors, and dangerous ones at that. That's why they are so elusive. They seem intelligent, smart enough to stay off the radar and hide in the shadows. When humans come close to discovering them, they disappear back into their portals, eluding human contact. Perhaps this is why so many people go missing in our national parks, leaving no trace of what happened to them. According to my research, over 1,000 people reportedly vanish in national parks annually. These unresolved cases are surrounded by secrets that chill us to the bone. How can people disappear without a trace? Where do they go? Perhaps these monsters take them back through the portals or rifts, never to be seen again. Additionally, we are unaware of the number of people who go missing in the mountains while hunting or hiking. We don't know how many they take. The world is far stranger and more mysterious than we ever can imagine, and sometimes we are granted a glimpse into the unknown. Whether we choose to believe it or not, that's another matter. I believe what I saw. I know these monsters are real. However, I've stopped hunting, and I only venture into the woods a short distance while keeping an eye on my escape route. I never know who or what is watching me. I hope you enjoyed this story. I still don't believe what I saw. However, I know that the monster they call Bigfoot or something like it does exist. Is it dangerous? I think it is, or could be. So I will warn you, be careful when you venture into the woods. Don't go looking for monsters that you really don't want to find. Thank you for visiting Scary and Bizarre Short Stories. If you would, please subscribe and give this story a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. As always, thank you for visiting my channel.